My name is Ben Stepney. I'm a partner in the employment team at Thomson Sander Passmore. I'm joined today by Nick Hobden, also a partner in the employment team at Thomson Sander Passmore. Today we'll be discussing the ins and outs of data breaches arising from a cyber attack, because they are becoming more common. And we'll discuss the steps that businesses can take in the event of a data breach, and also what businesses can do to protect themselves against data breaches in the first place. So Nick, what is a data breach in the context of a cyber attack?
Well, Ben, a cyber attack starts with a threat actor who hacks into, through an email account belonging to a person who works for an organization, and through that email account extracts data, which clearly then affects the integrity of the organization's IT systems and the data that it holds. And then what the threat actor does is that it takes that to a public accessible website. And that information typically includes names, addresses, dates of birth, phone numbers, bank details, and even potentially some medical information as well, to the extent that that information is held on the organization's systems. And then that information is transferred onto the dark web.
Thanks, Nick. It sounds like cyber attacks can be a real headache for a business. And we've seen this year Jaguar Land Rover and Marks and Spencer's being very disrupted by cyber attacks. So if there is a data breach arising from a cyber attack, what should businesses do in response?
Well, any organisation that holds data that is on their systems need to have an emergency response team, and that emergency response team needs to act very swiftly. They need to document the date and the time when the information was extracted, and the date and time when they discovered that it was put on the public accessible website. And this is important for reasons which I'll explain shortly. But basically what they then need to do is they need to contain the breach, but also inform the National Crime Agency, the NCA, and the National Cyber Security Centre, the NCCS. They must be notified immediately, and they must also notify the Information Commissioner's Office. And that's significant because the Information Commissioner's Office, which is responsible for regulating the whole personal data space and setting, must be told when this information was extracted and what was done with it. So it's important to know when the data was extracted. Now, we recently acted on a matter where a client of ours' data was extracted through an email account, and what we did through our commercial litigation team was to write to the website platform where the information was held and issue what was known as a takedown notice, insisting that they take down that data to prevent it from being widely disseminated and accessed. And so we were successful in that. That data was taken down, but it was always possible that some dark actors could seize that information and then potentially use it and exploit it in relation to people's data. So it's vitally important that the incident response team moves very, very quickly.
So you've spoken about the need to inform various regulators. Who else should a business inform if they've suffered a data breach?
Well, assuming that they are insured for data breach and cyber security, and most commercial policies will include that element of cover either within the cover or as a bolt-on, then they clearly must inform their insurers, because the insurers will need to be told in the event that there is any claim made by third parties or there's business interruption associated with that breach, because from our experience, when that data is taken from an organization's systems, those systems no longer have the integrity that they perhaps used to have, and potentially organisations are paralysed in terms of being able to even process emails, access emails, send out emails, obtain information relating to their systems, administer the records of their employees. So it's vitally important that the insurers are told, and the insurers will often recommend or appoint for the organisation that's been hit a team of investigators, IT investigators, to actually investigate the breach and compile a detailed report. Again, that's useful when one's dealing with regulators like the ICO to get the facts correct as to what's happened.
So you've spoken about personal data being taken or lost as part of a data breach and a cyber attack. Must those individuals whose personal data has been taken, must they be informed about the data breach?
In most cases, yes. So the first thing to remember is that following a data breach where data relating to the rights and freedoms of individuals, their personal data in effect, falling into the wrong hands means that there is a duty to inform the Information Commissioner's Office within 72 hours of discovery of the breach. So it's discovery of the breach, not the date when the breach happened. And in addition, the individual data subjects should be informed if that information has been exported to a public accessible website. And so in most cases, we assume that that data has been put on the public accessible website, which is the reason for issuing a takedown notice, and therefore those individuals must be informed because it is their data, including their names and addresses, dates of birth, email addresses, phone numbers, and in some cases bank details. They are at risk, and so individuals need to be informed. And if they're not informed, then that will ultimately count against the organisation dealing with the data breach when it comes to answering questions from the Information Commissioner's Office.
Thank you, Nick. Sounds like there's a lot for an organisation to think about in a short space of time. If prevention is better than cure, what steps can businesses take to protect themselves from a cyber attack in the first place?
Well, Ben, lots of steps. I mean, the first thing to do on the training side is to introduce cyber attack training to the organisation so that your staff learn to recognise when there's a suspicious email that comes in, asking them to click on a link. So it may be a phishing email. It may take them to websites where just clicking on those websites puts their email account at risk and it is being compromised. Technically speaking, organisations should have anti-malware software installed, they should have firewalls, they should encrypt emails, they should have a policy that prevents employees, for example, going to work in a cafe where there's a publicly available Wi-Fi that they can use, because that information is not secure and they can potentially use that link to eavesdrop on people's activities on their laptops and computers and personal devices, etc. I mentioned insurance a moment ago. It's vitally important that the organisations check their insurance policy to make sure that they do have that cyber security cover in place.
Thank you, Nick. There's a lot for an organisation to think about. If you do suffer a data breach, you want to quickly establish what steps need to be taken, and we recommend that prevention is better than cure, and Nick's talking about some of the steps that a business can take to prevent a data breach happening in the first place, and the importance of practicing or fire drilling what the organisation will do if it does suffer a data breach. So thank you very much again, Nick. And if you require assistance with any of the issues we've discussed today, then please don't hesitate to get in contact. Thank you for watching.